Get her out, today. Chike didn't lower his voice. He said it into his phone while our daughter's pink backpack still dangled from my hand and the living room TV replayed the news. Lagos contractor Chike Okonkwo awarded a $300 million expressway contract. The camera cut to his champagne-soaked smile at the Eco Hotel ballroom. Now, in our Ikoyi penthouse with the lagoon glittering outside, he looked past me to the front door as two uniformed security men stepped in. Beside him stood Samira, the influencer, glossy braids to her waist, wearing my Ankara wrapper like a trophy. What would you do if you walked in on this? I asked the air because my voice refused to break. Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. I dropped the backpack onto the tufted rug and faced my husband. Chike, we have school run at 7. The children need stability. They'll be fine, he said, eyes dead like the elevator mirror. You've turned bitter, Adaora. I won. I'm moving on. You can take the Corolla. Samira's laugh clinked like ice. Baby, the Bentley key, a beg. She stretched a manicured hand. Security hovered. The penthouse smelled of suya smoke and moat. The playlist he loved, Fela Taberna, now sounded like a taunt. I remembered when we danced in our self-contained room in Surulere, sweating, praying, dreaming. Today, my dream stood at the door like hired muscle. Chike, we built this together, I said. I wrote your first proposals. I found the site engineer. I cold-called those banks. He looked bored. And I paid the price of admission. The door opened again. Our neighbors peeped. Lagos loves a spectacle. A phone lifted. Recording. Mommy. Kamsi's voice came from the hallway. Small, sleepy. She clutched her teddy. My chest ripped. I knelt and hugged her. Go to Auntie Ngozi's downstairs. Now. I pressed the teddy into her arms and kissed her forehead. She ran. Security reached for my suitcase. I snatched it back and wheeled it myself. If betrayal was a stage, I would not be dragged from it. On the landing, the elevator opened. Our driver, Musa, shifted awkwardly. Madam. He didn't finish. He held out the Corolla keys like a condolence card. As the doors slid shut, I saw Samira tug Chike's sleeve and whisper. He nodded. He never liked public disgrace, but he had chosen it. So had I. Outside, the night smelled of rain and diesel. I put the suitcase in the Corolla, dialed Auntie Ngozi, and drove. The third mainland bridge shimmered with brake lights, Lagos City Mall glowing like an indifferent planet. On the radio, a host debated infidelity in marriage, as if it were a sport. My hands trembled on the wheel. At a red light in Yaba, my phone pinged. A bank alert, a familiar account drained to zero. Another ping. My company email password had been changed. A final ping, a calendar invite, press conference, Okonkwo Infrastructure Victory Tour. Tomorrow at noon, Eco Atlantic. I pulled into a quiet side street and cried the kind of tears that salt the throat and burn the eyes. Domestic betrayal made visible under a broken streetlight. But then I opened notes and began to list what I had: copies of proposals, voice notes where he promised 30% founder shares, photos of site visits I arranged, emails I sent from his laptop when he was too drunk to type. I still had my name. By dawn, a plan formed like harmattan mist gaining shape. If Chike wanted a new life, fine. I would fight for an honest one, for me and for our children. The city woke up around me, Accra frying, Danfo horns, hawkers singing. Lagos had taught me hustle. Today it would teach me revenge. At 11:58 a.m., I slipped into the back of the packed press hall at Eco Atlantic. Cameras bristled. The big screens flashed Chike's face beside the words, Transforming Africa. He stepped up to the podium, navy suit sharp, smile polished. He began to speak about integrity and nation-building. I tapped the mic at the side aisle meant for questions from stakeholders. The sound crackled. Heads turned. Mr. Okonkwo, I said, stepping into the frame. How does integrity coexist with throwing your wife and children out the morning after a $300 million award? A collective gasp. Phones rose. The cameras swung. Chike's smile faltered. I held up a printed email with a bank letterhead. Also, who signed this power of attorney to move partnership funds without my consent? Security moved. Reporters shouted. Somewhere in the noise, I heard Campsey's laugh in my memory and found steel in my soul. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. Madam, we should go, my lawyer whispered, pulling me toward the exit as flashbulbs flared like lightning. Sola was tall, calm, with the steady eyes of a man used to both boardrooms and bus parks. We spilled into humid air that tasted of the Atlantic and generator fumes. A crowd followed, fishing for sound bites. On the curb, Auntie Ngozi's Corolla idled. She leapt out, gelly high, wrapper tight, mouth set for war. Ada, get in. As the car merged into Victoria Island traffic, Sola scrolled his tablet. We'll file an injunction for spousal maintenance and access to the children today. Lagos High Court. But we need evidence beyond emotion. Transfer slips, emails, audio. I have them, I said. I saved everything. Auntie patted my knee. Ehen. Domestic betrayal is not the end of a woman. Lagos knows our type. She glanced at me. Eat. She handed me warm puff-puff in brown paper. The comfort almost broke me. In the back seat, I texted my mother in Enugu. I'm okay. Pray. She called immediately, voice trembling. NNE, come home. Men will disgrace you and call it weather. I can't leave, I said. I have to fight. For Campsey. For Tobe. My son was at school. The nanny had taken him home. We had split our lives in a day, and the city hadn't even blinked. We reached Sola's office on Adeola Odiku. Inside, cool air and quiet carpet. He led me into a glass-walled conference room with views of palm trees and impatient clouds. Tell me everything from the beginning, he said. We stitched our story tight, the surreal self-contained, the late nights drafting proposals while a fan chattered, my salary funding his first bulldozer rental, cold calls to engineers in Port Harcourt and Kaduna, winning a small drainage contract in Yaba, reinvesting every naira, moving to Ikoyi with second-hand furniture and big gratitude, the first whispers of other women, the first lie, the first apology, the first gray hair I plucked out over the bathroom sink, laughing that love would die. It black again. Sola nodded. Good. In Nigeria, marriage under the Act recognizes contribution, financial and non-financial. You can claim equitable interest in marital assets and in the company if we show your role. We'll seek a Mariva injunction to freeze specific accounts pending determination. He paused. But Chike will counterattack. He'll call you bitter, unstable, jealous. He'll use co-parenting as a weapon. Right then, my phone buzzed. A WhatsApp group for parents at Marigold International School. Chike had posted a glossy photo of himself at the press conference, captioned, "Grateful to God. Grateful to family." Comments poured in. "Proud of you, sir. A true son of Lagos. I tasted iron." Another notification, an email from HR at Okonkwo Infrastructure. Subject, termination of consulting access. Body, as per executive directive, your email and project management access are revoked. Me, the woman who set up the company Google Drive. I exhaled and recorded a voice note to myself. Do not be intimidated. Document. Move. We filed that afternoon. Court corridors hummed with the weary hope of people who refused to make peace with injustice. Sola's clerk, Aisha, moved like wind, stamping, filing, fetching. By 4 p.m., we had a date for an ex-parte hearing. The judge would read our motion in chambers. At dusk, we drove to my children. Campsey ran to me, hair in crooked puffs. Tobe toddled behind, chubby hands sticky with mango. I smelled their necks the way mothers do, inhaling memory and medicine, promise and pain. At bedtime, the generator hiccuped. The house went dark, then bright again. In the soft whir, Campsey whispered, Daddy says you're jealous of his new friend. I kissed her forehead. I'm jealous of no one. I'm fighting for you. She nodded, understanding more than her years allowed. When will we go home? Soon, I lied, layered with faith. After they slept, I stood at the window and watched the night market bloom on the street. Orange lanterns, roasted corn, laughter in languages that tied Lagos together. I thought of Samira in my wrapper, of Chaik in his navy suit, of me in this small borrowed room. I thought of the $300 million contract floating above the city like a storm cloud promising both rain and flood. My phone chimed. A hidden number. A text. You don't know the half of it. Check the email I just sent. A friend. I opened the attachment. Spreadsheets. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. Payments linked to initials I knew too well. I scrolled until my thumb ached. The numbers glowed like coals. The last page held a scanned signature. My own. Forged. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. Ma'am, you can't take that microphone. The PR woman's smile was tight enough to snap. But I didn't want her microphone. I wanted the truth to echo even without one. We were at the Victory Tour's second stop, an outdoor stage at Freedom Park. Chaik promised to empower youth, while a band tuned Afrobeats behind him. I wore a plain white blouse and jeans, the uniform of a woman tired of costumes. My heart beat a talking drum. Sola had warned me. Be strategic. Court first, media second. Don't feed his narrative. But the forged signature simmered like pepper soup in my throat. I needed him to see me see him. The moment Chaik stepped down from the stage to mingle with cameras, I moved. Reporters shifted. Some recognized me, their eyes sharpened. Chaik, I called. He turned. For a heartbeat, we were two kids back in Surulere, hungry and certain. Then Samira slid into the frame, and the spell broke. You forged my name, I said, holding the printout chest high. You moved money from a joint development account into BVI shells. You made my hand sign what my heart would never consent to. He didn't look at the paper. He looked at the cameras. My wife is struggling with mental health in this difficult season, he said softly, as if he cared. Please respect our family. The cruelty hid in the courtesy. Emotional manipulation wearing a suit. A reporter thrust a mic toward me. Madam, are you alleging financial crimes tied to the $300 million contract? Is this about co-parenting conflict escalating? Samira laughed, bored. She's just angry he upgraded. I reached for the mic, but Sola's text buzzed in my palm. Court in 30. We have the judge. Come now. I stepped back. See you in court, I said to Chaik. Bring your pen. We sped to Igbosir. The courthouse breathed paper and patience. In a tight, wood-paneled chamber, a calm judge read our motion. Sola spoke in measured sentences, laying out my contributions, the sudden eviction, the account drains, the forged signature. He presented the whistleblower spreadsheets with cautious hands, like a pastor raising offering. Opposite us, Chaik's new counsel, a senior advocate in a silk gown, argued no urgency, gold digging, domestic dispute dressed as commercial claim. He smiled with the confidence of a man used to winning and to clients who can pay for it. The judge's eyes were unreadable river stones. Pending the determination of the substantive suit, this court grants an interim order restraining the respondent from disposing of, withdrawing, or transferring funds from the specified accounts, she said at last. Access arrangements for the children will be maintained as status quo ante. Aisha squeezed my hand. We had a small freeze on a small set of accounts, but it was oxygen. Outside, reporters pounced. Madam Adeora, is this revenge? One asked. I met the lens. This is responsibility. When a cheating spouse becomes a public figure, the community has a stake. My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. A voice note. I pressed play. Chaik's voice, hoarse with whiskey. I don't care how we move it. Put her name. She won't know. If EFCC asks, I'll say my wife handles domestic finances. My throat tightened. I forwarded it to Sola. He typed back, chain of custody. Metadata. We billed. Evening carried us home like a tired bus. Kamsi had drawn a house with 4 stick figures and a red heart. I made us, she said. I kissed her drawing, then tucked it inside my file folder like a shield. Night fell, and with it, another blow. A court server pinged my email with a notice of application. Chaik seeking an emergency order to restrict me from speaking publicly in a manner causing public disgrace, and seeking temporary custody due to my erratic behavior. The walls swayed. Sola called. We'll oppose. Early morning. I looked at the sleeping children. At the files spread like battle plans. At my reflection in the window, eyes bright with fight, cheeks streaked with salt. He wants to make me quiet, I whispered to the dark. But I'm not a woman who goes silent, I told the night. I'm a woman who goes to work. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Comment your thoughts on the betrayal, and tell us which city you're watching from. The morning after, Lagos wore rain like a veil. Danfos hissed past puddles. Hawkers lifted umbrellas over baskets of plantain and phone chargers. In Sola's office, the coffee was strong enough to argue. We prepped to fight Chaik's gag order and custody grab, shaping truth into filings sharper than any insult. After today, lie low, Sola advised. Let the filings speak. Let the freeze bite. And Ada, breathe. I nodded. I'll take the kids to my cousin in Accra for the week. Quiet. Safe. He agreed. Good. But keep your phone on. Our whistleblower might send more. By afternoon, the gag order hearing turned into a chessboard. Chaik's SAN spoke of internet trial and irreparable reputational harm. Sola replied with public interest, right of reply, and pattern of intimidation. The judge, wise to Lagos theater, struck a balance. No party shall malign the other publicly. However, matters of record may be stated. Custody remains shared until substantive hearing. It wasn't perfect, but it was a leash on Chaik's push for silence. 2 days later, I crossed Kotoka International Airport's clean brightness with 2 sleepy children and a carry-on stuffed with court-stamped papers. Accra's air felt different. Calmer, salty, kind. At my cousin Amba's flat in OSU, the sea wind tugged laundry like a playful ant. The children found cartoons. I found my pulse. The next morning, I met Kwaku, a forensic accountant with kind eyes and a head full of numbers. We sat in a cafe smelling of espresso and rain. He spread the spreadsheets between us. These shells are lazy, he said in a soft Ghanaian lilt. Someone thought the initials would hide them. They do not. He traced lines between accounts, companies, contractors. See this? A supplier in Tima. See this? A consultancy in Cape Town. The money dances, but it never leaves the circle. Can we catch it? I asked. We can teach the court the steps. He smiled. But you must be patient. Patience. The bitter cola of revenge. On Saturday, Amba dragged me to Makola Market to clear the head. We moved through a riot of color, Kent swaying, spices teasing, sellers calling, "Sister, fine price for you." I tried on a simple Kent scarf. The mirror reflected a woman who had aged 10 years in 10 days, and learned 10 new strengths. As we ate wache on a plastic stool under a faded umbrella, my phone buzzed with a news alert. A glossy blog had posted a paparazzi-style photo of Chaik and Samira at a high-end restaurant in Lekki, captioned, "Power couple sets Lagos ablaze." The comments were knives and roses. A second alert, a clip of me at the press conference, cut to make me look hysterical. A third, a rumor that I stole funds from the company. Amba squeezed my hand. Ignore them. I can't, I said. I have to answer. Answer in court, she said. And answer with peace. That one pains more. She winked. Domestic betrayal loves noise. Make yours music. That evening, Kwaku texted, "Check your email." I opened a secure folder. New documents. A consulting agreement from 2 years ago. Okonkwo Infrastructure contracting a brand strategist named Samira for $500,000 in image enhancement. I stared. One invoice was signed by Chike. Another, by me. The forged signature again. I felt a tremor deep in my bones. This wasn't just infidelity in marriage. It was laundering wrapped in romance. I forwarded it to Sola with one line. We go again. At bedtime, Kamsi asked, Mommy, are we staying in Ghana forever? No, I said, smoothing her hair. We're going home. We're just pausing to gather strength. In the quiet after their breaths evened out, my phone vibrated on the nightstand. A Lagos number I didn't know. I let it ring out. A text followed, they're moving money tonight. If you want to stop it, be in court Monday with an emergency motion. And come alone. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Trap or truth? Risk or rescue? Rain drummed the window like anxious fingers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. I flew back to Lagos on the first flight, sun not yet convinced to rise. Sola met me at arrivals with a takeaway coffee and a look. Emergency motions on Mondays are for people who sleep at court, he said, but he was already dialing the registrar. By 10 a.m., we stood again before the same calm judge. Sola laid out the new evidence. I laid out my fear. My lady, he said, we have reason to believe funds tied to the $300 million contract are being routed through shell entities tonight. We seek an interim order extending the freeze to these accounts. The SAN objected. Speculation. Witch hunt. He adjusted his silk, shaking his head like a disappointed uncle. The judge asked one question, Mrs. Okonkwo, how did you obtain this information? I met her eyes. A conscience leaked, I said. I verified. And my signature was forged to facilitate some of it. She nodded once, then signed the order. Let the central bank serve by email and WhatsApp. Let practicality win. Outside, Thiesen's jaw tightened. You will regret this, he muttered to Sola. Our client is a national asset. Then he should behave like one, Sola replied. That afternoon, Chike called for the first time since the eviction. His voice was low, intimate, the one he used when a deal slipped and he needed my steady. Ada, you're embarrassing me. You embarrassed yourself, I said. I only turned on the light. He exhaled. Think of the children. I am, I said. I'm thinking of the land they will inherit. They deserve clean names. Silence thickened. Then soft, come to dinner. Let's talk privately. Old reflexes tugged at me. The woman who believed apology could build a bridge leaned forward. But the woman who held forged signatures leaned back. Bring your proposal to my lawyer, I said. We don't dine over crime. He scoffed and hung up. By evening, social media boiled. A respected journalist tweeted a thread about African marriage drama meets public procurement. Bloggers called it the revenge story of Lekki. My inbox filled with women telling their own stories of cheating spouses and emotional manipulation that bled into bank statements. Pain had a chorus. At 9 p.m., the anonymous number pinged again. Check the Meadowbank account. Sola and I waited for a banking officer to confirm the freeze had landed. Successful, the officer said at last. Attempted transfer blocked. I slumped against the cool window. One small gate held. Minutes later, my screen exploded with a different kind of bombshell. Samira's Instagram post. A soft focus photo of her hand on a flat stomach, captioned, Our greatest blessing loading. #PowerLove. The comments, thousands, blazed. News blogs reposted. Lagos power couple expecting. My heart did a dangerous lurch between anger and grief. A fresh threat, a new child to weaponize in court and in public. A new text came, not anonymous this time. From Chike. You see? Move on, Ada. This is my family now. Sign the NDA and I'll send you something to manage. I stared at the words until my vision steadied. Then I lifted my phone and recorded a single sentence to myself. Love without respect ends in public disgrace. I choose respect. The next morning, we arrived at court for a status meeting, only to find EFCC officers in the corridor, crisp in their red jackets. They weren't here for me. An officer approached. Mrs. Okonkwo, will you cooperate if we open a preliminary inquiry? I glanced at Sola. He nodded. We'll provide documents. As we spoke, the elevator dinged. Chike stepped out, flanked by lawyers. He saw the EFCC logo, and his face flickered with something I recognized from years ago, the moment a road collapses under a heavy truck. He masked it quickly. But I had seen it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. The city buzzed like a beehive poked with a stick. EFCC rumors spread through church groups and hair salons. Aunties discussed co-parenting conflict over bowls of pepper soup. My mother arrived from Enugu with a bag of kola nuts and prayers, announcing to my cousin, I will not sit in my house and hear strangers describe my child. She set about folding laundry with the fury of an army. Sola kept me directed. We stay clean. No social media wars. No gloating. Let the institutions grind. Meanwhile, we sharpen the family case. Custody, maintenance, equitable interest. I spent one afternoon at the children's school, sitting on tiny chairs in a classroom that smelled of crayons and disinfectant, answering Kamsi's teacher's gentle questions about stability. Chike had emailed the school a new pickup schedule without consulting me. The principal, experienced in Lagos dramas, insisted both parents sign before changes. Small victories matter. At night, when the children slept, I researched. A clause in the federal contract flickered into focus. Local content requirement giving preference to companies with registered female-owned SMEs in their chain, a policy I had once celebrated. I remembered something else. In the early days, we had registered a small design and survey firm in my name to bid for small work. We still owned the trademark. The firm had done legitimate tasks. But then, scanning invoices, my eyes snagged on something foul, the firm's name used on inflated consultancy bills long after I stopped signing. My forged signature again, this time to launder local content. I printed the evidence and stared at it until the pages blurred. In the soft generator hum, a terrible quiet truth settled. Chike hadn't just thrown me out. He had tried to throw my name under the bus. If the money trail snapped, it could be my neck caught in the rope. I called Sola. We need to take this to EFCC ourselves, I said. Not as revenge. As self-preservation. Tomorrow, he said. And Ada, good. This is how you win, with daylight. In the morning, we walked into EFCC headquarters, the red jackets busy as ants. We sat in a small office with 2 investigators and a stack of files. I laid my pages down. We talked for hours. The air felt thick with consequence. After, exhausted, I took the children to Bar Beach. The water was brown and wild, the wind full of grit and laughter from other families. We bought coconut water, and I watched Kamsi chase a kite while Tobe clapped at a dog. Life insisted on being bright where it could. My phone buzzed. A hospital number. My mother had fainted while boiling yam, blood pressure spiking. Betrayal doesn't schedule itself. It arrives with all its cousins. We raced to the clinic in Onairu. The doctor said she would be okay but needed rest and less stress. We all laughed too hard at the prescription. While we waited, a process server arrived in the hallway, solemn and sorry, service for Mrs. Okonkwo. New papers. Chike had filed to evict me from the smaller flat I'd rented with my own money, arguing the children should return to the marital home with him for continuity. A power play designed to shove me into a new corner in the game. I took the papers, thanked the man, and sat on the clinic bench next to a poster that said, "Protect your heart." I looked at my mother sleeping lightly. I looked at my children on the floor with colored pencils and paper, drawing a beach and a bright sun. My own heart steadied. "We will not be moved," I whispered. The next text that came wasn't from a court or an anonymous number. It was from Samira. She sent a selfie from the Bentley, lips glossy, caption, "Try peace, sis. It's cheaper." Then a second message, also, "Thanks for the company registration. We've been using it well." I stared at the screen, a heat rising in me so fierce it felt like a fever. Before I could reply, a third ping, a calendar invite, Okonkwo Infrastructure Gala, Saturday. Venue, Eco Hotel. The note attached, "Come see how the city celebrates winners." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Share this with someone who loves drama, and tell us, should Ada crash the gala or stay away? I didn't crash the gala. I crashed their certainty. That afternoon, while Chike rehearsed speeches and Samira rehearsed smiles, EFCC officers walked into Okonkwo Infrastructure's glass lobby like a storm you can't predict but must endure. The red vests moved with quiet purpose. The receptionist's hands fluttered. Staff glanced at each other, trying to look innocent and busy at once. Sola had timed it. The investigators had built enough to secure a search and seizure warrant on documents tied to the forged signatures and the shell companies. I arrived with them, quiet, plain, holding nothing but a notebook and my ID. In the boardroom, Chike appeared, flanked by counsel, fury contained under cologne. He threw me a look that could cut brick. "You brought armed men into my company," he hissed. "I brought light," I said. The lead investigator, professional, polite, read the warrant. "We are here for specific records." Officers fanned out. Laptops were imaged. Filing cabinets opened. A junior accountant cried quietly at her desk. I wanted to put a hand on her shoulder, but this was not a day for comfort. It was a day for consequence. Samira burst in late, sunglasses at her hairline, indignation on her face. "Do you know who we are?" She asked no one in particular. "A file will," the investigator said without looking up. 2 hours later, they found what I feared and expected, a thumb drive labeled SC, containing invoices to my female-owned SME bearing my forged signature, linked to payments that bloomed into other payments like poisonous flowers. They also found a printed memo where Chike had written in his own hand, "If this ever surfaces, use Ada as domestic cover. Emotional dispute. Keep narrative simple." My stomach turned. Betrayal is sharpest on paper. As boxes rolled out on dollies, Chike's SN tried to turn the moment into a press lecture in the lobby. Witch hunt. Political rivals. Family matter blown up. But the cameras caught the red jackets and the boxes and the expression on Chike's face as something larger than marriage turned its gaze on him. That evening, the gala still happened. Money hates an empty hall. Photos of chandeliers and clinking glasses hit Instagram while the city gossiped between sips. I sat in my quiet kitchen and fed my mother soup while the children colored. Social media tagged me in everything. I turned my phone screen down. Near midnight, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. Samira stood there alone, face washed of makeup, braids messy, fury spent. Against my better judgment, I opened. "You think you've won," she said first, voice shaking. "But you're making a mistake. He's not who you think. He's worse." She looked past me at the children's drawings on the wall. "He told me to announce the pregnancy because it would make you settle quick. He asked me to say the baby is his." "Asked," I said. She swallowed. "It's not." The hallway moved under my feet. "Not his. Not his." She shoved an envelope into my hand. "I'm not doing jail for a man who will never choose anyone but himself." She stepped back. "Get a lawyer who can read the South African filings. That's where the other money is." The elevator doors closed on her haunted eyes. I opened the envelope at the table. DNA test. A letter from a clinic. A whisper of redemption for a woman I wanted to hate. And another whisper. Johannesburg. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next, Johannesburg or Lagos showdown? South Africa felt like a different chapter written in the same tense. Sandton's glass towers tried to outshine the sky, The GA train hummed like a promise. I checked into a simple hotel with a kettle that groaned and a view of a construction crane silhouetted against a peach sunset. The city smelled cleaner than Lagos but carried the same perfume of ambition. Kwaku had connected me with a South African attorney, Thandi, whose velvet voice disguised a spine of steel. We sat in her office while she flipped through Samira's envelope and our EFCC documents. "Here," she said, tapping a page. "A shelf company created 2 years ago. Same initials. A director who is a ghost. Money arriving just after Nigerian payments. Money leaving to Mauritius. Then to Dubai. Then back to a related entity in Cape Town that consults on roads though it has 3 employees." She looked up. "We can apply for an Anton Pillar order, civil search. But for funds, we'll need a freezing order. The standard is high. We must show real risk of dissipation." I told her about the forged signatures, the attempt to drag me into the fire. She listened, then nodded. "Bring me your pain, but bring me your papers too." I smiled despite myself. We filed. We argued. We waited in corridors with other people whose lives hung on court calendars. I FaceTimed Kamsi at bedtime. She asked if Joburg had suya. "Something like it," I said, showing her biltong. She made a face and laughed. That sound kept me breathing. On the 3rd day, a judge with tired eyes and a precise pen granted a provisional freeze on 2 accounts linked to Chike's shell web. $120 million held in an entity called Akolo Consulting, Proprietary, Limited. The order was provisional, but it was oxygen in a new language. Thandi squeezed my hand. "This will travel back to Lagos." It did. The next morning, a Nigerian blog with real sources broke the story. $120M connected to Lagos contractor frozen by South African court. The headline did what headlines do, lit up screens and tempers. My phone buzzed until it overheated. I turned it off and walked to Nelson Mandela Square, where his bronze statue looks both stern and amused. I stood at his feet and made a private vow. I would not let this journey make me small. Back at the hotel, a message waited on the room phone. No one uses room phones until the story is too old for text. It was Sola. The SAN filed an emergency motion to dismiss our Lagos freeze citing foreign interference. EFCC wants you for a further statement. Also, he paused. Chike's mother called your mother. Things are heated. I exhaled. Family. The oldest battlefield. I returned to Lagos the next day to find my mother sitting calmly on the couch with her Bible and a bowl of garden eggs, while my mother-in-law stood by the window, radiating wounded dignity. "Ada, must you drag our name?" she asked. "Mommy," I said softly, kneeling. "I didn't drag it. Chike did." She stared down at me, seeing both the girl who served her pepper soup and the woman who served her son legal papers. Something gentled in her face, then hardened again. Men are like the weather. You don't take them to court, you take them to God. "I can do both," I said. That night, I dreamed of running on the 3rd mainland bridge while the city cheered and booed in equal measure. I woke to a message from Thandi, "He's appealing here. Prepare." And a message from EFCC, "Please attend." 10 a.m. I ironed a clean blouse, packed a folder, kissed my children's heads, and walked into another day where truth had to dress up to be heard. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. Sunday morning wrapped Lagos in white lace and hymnals. I took the children to church early, craving quiet. As the choir lifted, "Great is thy faithfulness," I felt tears press hard. Then I saw him. Chike stood at the back in a simple agbada, no entourage, face a study in contrition. After service, he approached slowly, hands visible, like a man taught by police to survive. People watched, pretending not to. "Ada," he said, voice low. "Can we talk?" "We are always talking," I said. "In filings." He gave a small, humorless smile. "Not the same." His eyes flicked to the children. "Kamsi, Daddy will see you later, okay?" She pressed into my side and didn't answer. He led me to a side garden where hibiscus looked shocked to be so red. "I'm sorry," he said. "For which part?" I asked. "For all." He swallowed. "I got carried away. Men do that." He said it like weather again. "Men do not forge my name," I said. "Men do not drain school fees. Men do not use women as dummy companies and then call them mad." He flinched. "I can fix it." "You can't," I said. "But a judge can." He exhaled, then reached into his agbada and pulled out a letter. "A settlement proposal," he said. 40 million naira monthly maintenance. The smaller flat. The children on alternate weeks. You dropped the EFCC thing." I took the letter. It was handsome nonsense. "No," I said. He stared at me, and for the first time since the eviction, I saw fear, not anger. "They can lock me," he said quietly. "Then you should have been clean," I said quietly back. He looked at his shoes. "Samira left," he murmured. "The baby isn't mine." "I know," I said. "She told me." A muscle jumped in his jaw. "Everything is burning, Ada." "Then stop pouring petrol," I said. His eyes lifted to mine, softening into the boy who once took Danfo with me and bought groundnuts through the window like a promise. "Help me," he said, and for a dangerous second, love opened like a palm. I closed it. "I will help the truth," I said. We walked back into the church compound. Aunties pretended to look elsewhere. The children ran to me. Chike moved toward them, but the nanny stepped smoothly into his path. He hesitated, then nodded and stepped back. A small respect. A late one. That evening, Sola called with news that tasted like iron and honey. "The Johannesburg provisional freeze stands pending appeal," he said. "And Ada, your trust?" "My what?" "The trust you created years ago when you bought the children that education policy. It holds a clause that grants you, as trustee, rights to recover assets from misapplied funds for the beneficiaries." He paused. "Your early lawyer was a genius you didn't know." I sat down slowly. So we can seek to attach certain shareholdings in Okonkwo infrastructure to the trust's claims," he said. "Not all. But enough to negotiate from power instead of pain." The room tilted. "Sola." "I know," he said softly. "Breathe." Minutes later, the doorbell rang. A process server again, like a metronome. This time, he carried a different envelope, a letter from Chike's SAN inviting us to settlement discussions to avoid public disgrace and preserve co-parenting harmony. I held the paper and felt a tide turn somewhere deep. Not a wave. A current. Before I could call Sola, my phone pinged with another message, anonymous no more. A video link. I pressed play. Chike, in a private room, speaking to a man I recognized from the early days, a fixer we thought we had outgrown. "Move the last batch through the NGO," Chike said on the screen. "Make it look like scholarships." The fixer nodded. "And your wife?" Chike's mouth twisted. "Let her shout. She'll tire." The video ended. My heart did not. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. We negotiated in a room that smelled like new leather and old lies. A long table. Bottled water aligned like soldiers. On one side, Chike and his SAN. On our side, Sola and me. Outside, Lagos traffic argued with itself. The SAN began with theater. "This is a family matter," he said. "We can stop this African marriage drama from staining the children." Sola smiled politely. "Then stop depriving them," he said. I slid a folder across the table. Trust clause, forged signatures, the South African order, EFCC minutes, the video transcript. "This is not only a family matter," I said. "This is public money. This is a revenge story, only because you wrote Betrayal as your first chapter." Chike stared at the folder but didn't touch it. His eyes lifted to mine, and for a second, something broke. "Ada, he began. We're past names, I said. We're at numbers. The first offer came. It was insult wrapped in zeros. We countered with math and memory, with law and love for children who needed school fees and therapy, not Instagram impressions. The SAN tried tone. We brought receipts. Hours passed. The air thinned. Finally, Sola leaned back and slid our final terms across. 40% of all net proceeds from the $300 million contract to a court-supervised trust for the children's benefit, administered by an independent trustee, a buyout of Adeora's equitable interest calculated on contributions documented, primary custody to Ada, with structured access, transfer of the Ikoyi penthouse title to the trust, Chike to issue a public apology acknowledging wrongdoing without naming specifics under. Investigation, withdrawal of all gag and eviction motions, withdrawal of Instagram propaganda, and a compliance monitor for corporate governance. Theason laughed, then stopped when he saw I did not. He turned to Chike. We can fight this, he whispered. Chike looked tired in a way that sleep could not fix. He rubbed his eyes. What if I go to jail? Sola didn't blink. Then you'll go as a man who tried to do one thing right at the end. Silence stretched like a bridge we might or might not cross. He signed. The pen scratched a new chapter into being. My hand trembled as I initialed. Not from fear now, but from the weight of relief and the ache of what could have been. The settlement would go to court for consent judgment. EFCC would continue its inquiries without my neck under the noose. The children would sleep in one bed under one roof and not ask each night which house was today's. The penthouse view would be theirs, but not as a monument to a man, rather as a lesson that women can build and rebuild. Outside, the sky broke open and Lagos rain applauded the earth. We stepped into it. Chike stood under the awning, looking smaller than the city for the first time. I lifted my chin. He spoke first. I'm sorry, he said, and this time, it sounded like a man who had met himself and did not like the company. I hope you mean it, I said. For their sake. He nodded, eyes on the street where hawkers ran for cover and a child laughed into the rain as if God had sent a waterfall just for him. Take care of them, he murmured. I have been, I said. Weeks later, the court entered the consent judgment. Blogs screamed, public disgrace, and cheating spouse pays, and co-parenting conflict resolved. The truth was quieter and kinder. We had carved safety from chaos. The trust bought textbooks and therapy and stopped the bleed of public noise. The penthouse walls learned to hold laughter again. I started a small foundation for women blindsided by domestic betrayal, offering legal clinics and soft chairs. On the day the first class of scholarship girls visited Bar Beach, I took a slow walk along the water with Kamsi and Tobe. They collected shells. I collected breaths. The horizon was a straight line teaching me to look far and keep moving. My phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't know. Thank you for not making it only about revenge. Some of us want to change too. It was Samira. I typed back, do better. She replied with a single heart. At home that night, I opened a fresh notebook. On the first page, I wrote 3 words that had cost me everything and given me more. I chose respect. Then I turned the page and wrote the next chapter's title without flinching, Peace. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Share this with someone who loves powerful, real-life African marriage drama and hard-won redemption. What lesson did you take from Ada's journey? Comment below, and tell us where you're watching from.